Good morning, folks, and another episode of Burning Platform, and it's a real pleasure to have Peter Maeir and Tilman Goettke today. We're going to be focused mostly on the business as unusual book, but we'll also talk about some new exciting trends in the industry that Peter has been seeing in a new role he's taken on. Peter and Tilman, welcome. You've both been on my shows before, but why don't you spend a minute just introducing yourself again? Peter?
Yeah, thank you so much, Vinnie. And it's always an honor to be with you and your audience. My name is Peter Maeir, taking care of the strategic customer engagements in the office of the CEO. Very excited on that role as I deal on a day-to-day basis with a lot of customers. Before I think I was in all roles at SAP already, except legal and controlling. And from that point of view, yeah, was leading the industries till end of last year and the value advisory team at SAP. So thank you so much for having me.
It's my honor to have you. Tilman, I know you are the glue behind the book, but explain, you do so many things at SAP. Describe your role.
Yeah, right. Maybe the easiest way to describe it being Peter's partner in crime for better part of 1.5 decades or so. So when this project came along, no surprise that Peter asked me to support it, and it has been great fun working with you, but also with the SAP Press folks on putting this project off, and of course with Christian and his office. So,
well, before we jump into all the IT gory details, the first time I visited Waldorf was in April. A long time ago, but I remember it was spargle season. So how is the spargle crop looking this year?
Spargle crop. Yeah, as you may know, I do running every morning. I can give you every day. I can give you the sentiment. You are spot on. I think you are like our other customers. I see a big peak going on between the April and the 20th of June, because at the 20th of June, after that, you are not getting spargles anymore. Spargles is coming up very nicely, very tasty. And yeah, sometime I'm not sure. Do the people come due to the great spargles in that time frame or due to the great software? I hope it's both.
Well,
no, jokes aside, it's coming very nicely along. And yeah, it's thank you for asking. You're not the only one who comes at that time frame.
It's nice to hear positive news. There's so much negative news that it's nice to hear at least something is growing nicely and positively. Peter, it's been a quarter since the book came out, and you've been traveling the world. You're taking on the new role. You've been presenting on the book. You've been handing out copies and all that. Tell me from your perspective, what's the reception?
Yeah, I would say you're right. I spend a lot of time to talk about the book and give also the equation and the whole purpose of the book. I would say the readers really like that we zoom out and look at the big mega trends, right? In the past, you need to read through the whole book in this kind of way. So this one you really can pick. You can pick the different trends and you can deep dive, and the day after you can do the next one. I would say that's one. The second one, I would say it's interesting to hear the perspective from the experts, customers, partners, how they use the mega trends, and also to innovate their business in their industries. And in particular these days, where a lot of things got fostered via the pandemic, via the Ukraine war here in Europe, etc., where everybody really is looking at his or her supply chain. So I would say that's my topic too. And I also been on a cool podcast with Kendall Tyler, which we did a lot of book signing, and we shared the business as usual story with students, but also with experts and also with customer executives. So really positive feedback also along the SAP colleagues, I have to say. Great feedback.
Tilman, you have been, my God, you must have carried, you should go work for DHL or UPS. You've been carrying boxes of the books. Tell me what feedback you've been receiving.
Yeah, it's a fantastic experience having books shipped all over the planet. That's really fun. So what I'm hearing is from the people that I think we had a good idea on how to structure the book, because business executives, that's what you've been impressing on the entire project team from day one, is that only few business executives have time or patience to read books cover to cover. But we have put in the opening chapter very short 2-page overviews of each of the mega trends, and then of course with references to the more detailed chapter with all the customer cases and how SAP solutions contribute with innovative solutions for dealing with those mega trends. And one of the things, and relatively early idea we managed to pull through, was coming up with thought experiments to engage our readers. And Thomas and Peter ask and invite the readers to immerse themselves in the trend and think about how they would deal with such a case. For example, if a producer of coffee machines has the idea to stop selling, or in addition to selling coffee machines, also to sell a subscription for coffee by the cup, and what kind of implications that has for the business model, for business processes, for financial streams, for pretty much for the sales and customer engagement. Pretty much everything changes when you try to change your business model to go to the everything as a service model, which is so popular today. So that's one thing. And of course, we haven't been doing that alone. We also have to thank ASAC, our customer communities, SAP Press, of course, you, Vinnie, and also Paul Kachina and his enterprise architects for popularizing the topics of the book. And as always, we say, it's not the book, the paper thing that matters, but actually the content behind it and the ideas and concepts that hopefully play a big role in our customers' future.
So let me just throw in my feedback. You mentioned the servitization trends. Rather than selling a product, sell coffee as a service, right? I've been pointing out to different industries just the new applications that have emerged in the last 3 or 4 years that we couldn't have thought about in 2019, right? So everything from EV battery, infrastructure management, and billing, right? We didn't need that a few years ago. We didn't need intelligent returns. E-commerce now, 20% of e-commerce is being returned. That whole thing, managing the returns process, has become a hugely important area for retail, for any e-commerce company, right? So there's probably 100 new applications that have emerged that didn't exist a few years ago. So, I like to tell people, if you think you were best practice in 2019, you're probably not anymore, because your industry has changed. Every industry has changed. Insurance has smart analytics, risk analytics, direct to consumer. I mean, there's just so many new micro fulfillment and logistics. Every industry is affected, right? So that's one thing that really resonates. I say, if you read the book, you will get in multiple industries these new vertical extensions that have emerged, okay, that you should be thinking about. The other thing I've done is I've obviously propagated through a number of blogs each of the chapters and each of the interviews that we did. One great thing we did was we recorded every single interview on video. So I've been able to reuse that in the marketing process to show snippets of interviews. So it's just been a lot of very positive energy around not just the book, but just the concepts that we brought up. So great job there. Peter, you and I have been, and Tilman, we've been around in the business a little too long. We still have a little bit of hair, but we've been here a long time. In addition to all these new vertical edge applications that have emerged, we're also seeing, I was in India last month. I'm seeing a lot of excitement in India about emerging economies, right? So people are doing business with the Middle East, people are doing business with Africa and so on. Those are new markets that couldn't afford to buy software a few years ago. Suddenly those have emerged, right? We're all hearing about generative AI, right? We're all hearing about low-code tools from CIOs and so on. My God, there seems to be so much going on. Tell me from your perspective, what excitement are you seeing?
I think you are spot on, and especially you told me right that you came from India. I really can imagine how many situations you ran into, how many, so to speak, mid-market companies are in India, which is simply incredible how to connect them to the bigger enterprises. So what we are seeing actually is the following, Vinnie. I think we see big changes, both in the global business, but then also on the changing on the market structures. Number one. The second one, I think we see, and we have been talking about disruptive technologies. You just mentioned it. It's artificial intelligence or the robotic process automation for many years. And the key question I'm always asking, what is different? And from my point of view, I think we see now that the technologies have matured enough to really also excite the broader public. Just look at the phenomenal hype and also the momentum on the around the generative AI and the large language models which are really coming up. Just give you one number. I think, and think about it, it only took 2 months to reach 100 million subscribers to ChatGPT. I mean, if you talk about all the changes which are coming in, I see also the whole topic of speed, the way how this is in a huge way completely unimaginable from a speed point of view, what we had in the past. And I think that will be one of the big challenges. And I think we come to that, what we need to address in this overall environment. So you need to have the mega trends in front of you. You need to know where industries are evolving. What are these key mega trends? You know, missing them, I think, is one thing. But based on the speed which is going on, I think extra focus has to be established. Yeah, as I always say, you need to get up early. Yes.
And go jogging like Peter.
Yeah. As long as your knee make it, yes.
Tilman, with all these new addressable markets, it just baffles me that Silicon Valley seems to be in a funk. There's so much doom and gloom in Silicon Valley. Why do you think that is?
Well, maybe to Peter's point with missing the train. A couple of decades ago, you still had the chance to run after the train, even as it was leaving the station, and maybe hop on a horse and chase the train, and then get on a trend a little bit after it happened. Today, we're more talking about bullet trains. Yeah, we're talking about that. That's a different thing. You can't catch up with the trend when it has left the station. You really have to be there. And in terms of the doom and gloom in Silicon Valley, I've long given up to trying to reconcile business reality with the dynamics of capital markets. There may be factors like bursting digital COVID bubbles, where everything goes a little bit back to normal and all the tech investments can be dialed back a little bit, but that in total, it doesn't make a lot of sense. What we can observe still, maybe that's a part of the root causes, it still takes too much time in particular for big companies to adopt digital technologies in everyday business fast enough, in particular when it comes to the core business systems that support the heavy lifting core value chain activities. So that's, even if technologies can be deployed fast, it's very hard to adopt them in the speed of startups and small, nimble, agile organizations. So that's maybe one of the factors that creates a time delay or time lags, which cause some of the doom and gloom. And today, Peter has talked about it, the speed that to go from what was science fiction yesterday to today's everyday business reality, that's happening super fast. And the constraining factor is now the business agility, not so much the technology. And our business as unusual with SAP, we take a close look at those fields to identify but also anticipate those things and see how technologies work in accelerating or delaying big megatrends or shaping them. So that's why I think we have important and useful content and concepts to share. And I think if business and technology get a little bit more in sync again, we'll see happiness and excitement come back also to Silicon Valley. And one of the elements we deal with every day is you need agility and taking core businesses to the cloud. That's one of the important elements on catching up with the speed of the changing megatrends and changing business.
You know, one thing, Tilman, you mentioned, I've been doing some interviews with some of the SAP industries that did not make it to the book fully, right?
Yeah.
I've interviewed Matt Raymond about the chemical industry, Torsten about the aerospace and defense sector, Jeff Powell about the semiconductor sector. Well, they're in the book, but this is a deep dive in those sectors. When you look at each one of these, and I have a few more coming up, when you look at all that, you go, my God, we could have had another 20 trends in the book. So if people are afraid of the change we point out, they better wake up. It's not slowing down, right? Peter, you have a new role that is allowing you to deal with a lot of strategic customers. Well, you did that all the time, but more in focus now. What requests are you getting from them? Are they telling you, hey, look, help us prioritize? Tell us about your new role and what are you advising people?
Yeah, I'm basically supporting the key customers of SAP, how to go through the transformations. I would say with all the priorities and what has changed, right? With all the speed, with all the technology hype which we have, and also I have to say the choices the customers will get, which is great. There is one thing which they always want now moving forward, which is a super clear guidance. They do not want to have 29 different options. The customers want to have guidance from us. And that includes also our partners, right? It is key that the SAP and the ecosystem tell ideally the same story towards the customer based on the requirements the customer has. So you asked me, and this is really super exciting on a day-to-day basis because you really focus on the core business where they make money today and also in the future. Now, you asked me, where are the priorities? I would say there's one thing that also has not changed. Our customers focus first on their customers. And that's what drives their revenue and or their core business and also their top line. So focus on the customer, I would say that still has not changed as is the number one. And then they work backwards, right? I think due to the pandemic, a lot of things started on the front office, always on the front office. That's the first thing which you look after. Now they basically work also. What does it mean? How can we serve the customers better? What are better offerings? What are better experience for their customers? And they need to keep the promise also they make to their customers. So which means they also need to look now to their back office. You know, your customer experience is horrible in case your supply chain is not working. So this is the key topic in a resilient way they are looking. So I would say that's number two. Number three, if you would ask me, and only a few leaders are really able to manage the change in their business operations and in their business models in real time, which also has a big impact to the architecture. You need to have a much more open, much more flexible architecture compared to that what you have in the past. Enable the customers to have choice, but give them super clear guidance. So I would say that is number three. The number four, I always say there are customers who big focus on the customers, on their customers, like consumer products, like a retailer, for example. But there are also customers who focus big time on efficiency, let's say more the asset-intensive industry. So there is a big focus on efficiency. And to be super honest, for all the whole topic of standardization, every customer wants to standardize now, because if you're having much more standardized, you can much more scale, right? We basically also talk to a lot of startups who basically grown in a big way, especially in the life science industry, which we also address in the book. So standardization, efficiency, the whole safety topic, Vinnie, got so much attention now these days due to the very early topic which we addressed at the beginning. When you asked me on the question, what has changed from a business point of view? And then I would say finally, but in a different way, the whole topic of sustainability. It's not a side remark somewhere anymore. You need, irrespectively, if you're in the chemical industry, if you are in the consumer product industry, automotive industry, the whole circular economy is key. The whole CO2 reduction along the supply chain for the capital assets is key, inside and outside the enterprise. But it has to be embedded. It has to be real time moving forward. And that's also the big play we have from an SAP point of view, beyond obviously the whole reporting, which a lot of companies can do. And these are the big fields which I see of investment and privatization. And, you know, the final word I would say is the customers are looking, they are rationalizing their vendors in a big way, and they want to have a super clear governance, very trustful collaboration. How can you reduce costs? How can you make sure you define the processes which are core for your business, that you have a clear roadmap, you give them the clear guidance, and you innovate in the context of the business. You ensure the architecture, and finally, you also make sure the governance are set up, they have access at the right point in time in order to have the right experts available. That's what helps you to drive the agility and the speed.
Peter, you talked about your partners, right? One thing that came out in the book dramatically, and I interviewed Frank Rowland as part of the book promotion, is how wide your ecosystem has become, right? It used to be the integrators and the outsourcers. In the book, we had strategy firms like Bain, Accenture Strategy. We had industrial robotics firms, Industry 4.0 robotics firms. We had digital agencies. We had your cloud.io foundries, startups in the book. I mean, just your ecosystem has just grown so much. Credit to you for being able to manage all that into something coherent for your customers. So yeah, it's complex, but you guys are not afraid of taking up, tough issues.
Tilman, we had leadership. You are spot on. We had to take leadership. That's what the customer, that's what the market is expecting. Customers wanted to have choices when they pick a partner, implementation partners, for example, right? But they want to have transparency. Which are your partners? Which are your system partners? Which are your software partners? Which are your technology partners? They want to have the transparency. So this is not about SAP. It's about SAP and the ecosystem. Really to help our customer space. You're spot on. And we have now in every industry a really clearly defined map, which we share also with the customers. Where is SAP investing? Where do we partner? And where do we give it up to the overall ecosystem moving forward? So it's a clear big change which we have done thanks to the ecosystem, thanks to the options which we have, which also provides much more flexibility for our customers.
Well, Tilman, it was amazing how many people you introduced me to as part of the book. How do you keep up with all this?
Well, not simple, but it's as Peter explained, our ecosystem of partners is one of the key elements that structures also our work. Sometimes say, okay, we provide the foundation with our heavy-duty business applications, and then the world of partners comes along and builds on top. A little bit like you consider your phone that we all have in our pockets, and collect the little apps that we plug on top. And that's millions, I guess, in the meantime, of apps, and your selection makes it your phone. So that's a way to deal with the complexity, to take a look at what does the business of a customer look like, what are the trends and business priorities they are setting in the industries, where are their markets, and then you whittle down the complexity so that it becomes relatively easy to engage with customers in a conversation on what really SAP and partner solutions make a difference for their business. So we don't just dump the entire app store on them and let them have a great day. But that's what we engage with in consulting and working with our customers on mega trends, how to deal with them, and how SAP can help.
Well, Tilman, if I could, as an analyst, just use 2 words to describe what you just said. It's composable architectures, right? Unique to the industry, unique to the industry, unique to their needs, and you're going to guide them through the process.
Yep.
Peter, your new role is fascinating, and you know what? You and I are going to have a chance at Sapphire to talk about this more. So
That's
I'm
good.
looking forward to doing that in person. We've been doing a little too much video and virtual conversations. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Tilman, thank you again for all your help during the book, and this has been fantastic. Any final words?
From my side, no,
Thank you.
it's been a pleasure, exciting, very cool, and I'm looking forward for all the next activities around business as unusual with SAP.
Yeah, I would agree. It's not, first of all, a big thank you towards you, Vinnie, and Tilman, absolutely. I would like to extend it to all our customers, partners, and the ecosystem who contributed to it. You know, you can have a great idea, but I think execution is key behind the mega themes. And that's what we have done. I think it was a nice way. And without the partners, the customers, and the ecosystem, it would simply not have been possible. We would have a theoretical book, but this is practical. And that was also the key feedback which we got. So also a big shout out to our ecosystem and the customers making that happen. Thank you.
Well, Peter, I look forward to seeing you in Orlando. Tilman, I need to come to visit you for no other reason to have the sparkle.
Yes, hurry up. The season ends, as Peter said, on June the 20th. So book a ticket.
I'm surprised I'm surprised you have a specific date, June the 20th.
Yeah. It's. I think it's somehow linked to the Christian calendar, but the background is more profound. At a certain point, the asparagus starts building toxins, so you don't want to eat it after those dates. So that's rough and tough around June 20.
It turns green like we have in the US.
Yeah, that's a different thing. That's just when you let them grow out of the ground. So, but I'm not the expert.
Tilman and Peter, thank you so much.
Super. Thank you so much, Vinnie. Thank you.